This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
just one just one more drop of bliss. Okay, everyone all set? Cocked, locked, blissed. Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Not to be.
Your dial is set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted you're here, broadcasting 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. It's a link to all of your instructors on the website, USAPrepares.com. Podcast at Genesis are free. Converging threats are confronted daily by your instructors. I'm Vincent Finelli. John is engineering the broadcast. John is the program director at Genesis Communications Network, and it's delightful working with John. As a matter of fact, John is the man who's responsible for me being on Genesis Communications Network, and I'm delighted to be behind the microphone. And as you know, I grin from ear to ear at the start of every broadcast because I just feel wonderful about being on the network. Dr. Shealy, I was at Sam's Club. And I was buying some supplies for the farm, and I was walking through the vitamin and supplement section. Now, I know you have formulated your own vitamins and supplements, and here's my question. And it has nothing to do with yours. It has to do with your opinion about marketing of these things. They have vitamins that are marked men's. They have vitamins that are marked women's. And they have vitamins marked over 50. So vitamins and minerals, men's, separate from women's, separate from over 50. So I decided, is this really a difference? Is there really a difference in the formulation? So I read all the labels, and there is a difference. But it seems to me that if you were going to pick one of them, there were more B vitamins in the men's version. Now, is that just marketing that they've made it men's, women's, and over 50? Or is there really a difference? And what do you do in your vitamin formulations?
Well, it is marketing, and there's not a huge difference. Basically, the so-called RDA, or MDA, recommended daily allowance, or minimum daily allowance, was created to prevent total vitamin deficiency, such as beriberi and pellagra, serious B vitamin deficiencies. The amount set for those is very low, less than 1 milligram for some of the Bs a day. Mm-hmm. Personally, stress level throughout the world, but certainly in this country, have increased so much in the last 50 to 75 years, and it is very safe to take more rather than less, up to a certain level. In the B vitamins, for instance, in any adult, over 120 pounds, 100 milligrams a day of B1, B2, B3, B6, etc., is totally safe. In my Dr. Shealy's Essentials, each tablet has 25 milligrams of B complex, some of the others, and some trace minerals and stuff like that. So if you take 2 of them a day, you're getting 50 milligrams. That is what I would consider an optimal, adequate dose. You don't have any problems. You're never overdosed, and it's enough for most people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my understanding, to recap this, the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, or the MDA, minimum daily allowance, is really just that. It's a minimum, and you can exceed the minimum in many cases. However, I guess we go up to 100 milligrams of B1, B2, B3, B6 if we're over
the basics. Yes.
Yeah, over 120
B12,
pounds.
of course, is a special category. Folic acid is a special category. B6 of all of these is the only one where an overdose is possible. You can take 1,000 milligrams of B6 daily for a month and 500 for a month. But when you take that much long-term, 6 months or more, it can cause problems. So I don't recommend, except in carpal tunnel syndrome, that you even take that bigger dose for a month or two.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, then what should we be concerned with in terms of overdosing with some of the ingredients in medicines, or if we take these supplements individually,
well,
like folic acid?
Basically, other than the only two where there's significant risk of an overdose, of vitamin D3, and the overdose there would be for an adult over 10,000 units a day. So it's, really pretty difficult to do that. As you know, I recommend 50,000 once a week, so that gives you somewhere in the intermediate range between 5 and 10,000 or 7,000 a day. Folic acid is safe easily up to 100 milligrams a day, and most people would do much better if they took that. Kurt Oster back in the 70s showed that some people really need 80 milligrams of folic acid daily to prevent atherosclerosis. And, of course, I don't know an 80 milligram tablet or capsule, but I do know 100 milligrams of folic acid, and that's what I take, because the biggest risk of low folic acid to everybody is atherosclerosis, stroke, cancer, heart disease, etc., if you get too little. And the recommended daily dose of folic acid, of course, is ridiculously unsafe, 400 micrograms.
Okay, and so when vitamins and supplements are labeled with iron, is there, for women, is there any concern about that? Or
almost never is there a concern of iron in women. However, 1% of men, which is, not a huge percentage, but if you're 1%, it could be 100% for you, is iron overload.
Okay.
And it can destroy the liver. I've only seen one patient who came in liver failure because they had failed to diagnose his excess iron. So for men, I do not recommend, unless they have been found to have iron-deficient anemia, that they take an iron supplement. That's why there's no iron in Dr. Shealy's Essential.
Mm-hmm. And that was my question. Okay, so for women, if they would like to take a supplement with iron, no problem for just about all the women. For men, there can be a problem. 1% of us can have a problem, and we can have an iron toxicity situation, which could cause organ failure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And Dr. Shealy, we have a caller from Colorado. Tina is on the line with us. Welcome, Tina, to the broadcast, usaprepares.com.
Thank you, Vincent.
You're welcome.
I had a question for Dr. Shealy, living in Colorado and having some experience in alternative health and wellness. There's a lot of things, new topics coming up now with the legalization of hemp in Colorado, and I was wondering what Dr. Shealy's opinion was on some of the medical benefits that people are getting from hemp.
Well, there's no question that people with a serious immune deficiency, cancer especially, can get some help from marijuana, not, of course, from regular hemp. Hemp is the oldest agricultural product in the world. It has been grown for 10,000 years to make rope, cloth, even clothes. But regular hemp has virtually no psychedelic material in it. And so hemp hearts, for instance, which is the seed of regular hemp, is the single best protein source in any vegetable matter. 3 tablespoons has something like 10 grams of very high-quality protein. In fact, hemp seeds, hemp hearts it's often called, have the only vegetable matter that has the amino acid taurine in it. There's no other known vegetable protein with that. In fact, the 33% protein in hemp seed is equal to a lean sirloin tip roast. Most meat does not have more than 20 or 22% protein. But for the psychedelic effects, personally, for ordinary people, I do not recommend it. It causes what I call a chemical frontal lobotomy. People who smoke a lot of this, and even every day, doesn't even have to be a lot, lose their frontal lobe perception. They become indifferent. They lose their discrimination. I've seen too many potheads, and there is no circumstance under which I personally would smoke marijuana unless I was terminally ill.
Tina?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shealy. Well, there are, especially being here in Colorado, kind of on the leading edge of it, the reemergence of this as an option. They're extracting oils that people can ingest internally, and I wonder, if you take the smoking out of it, does that change your opinion? Because
yes,
there are those other
hemp
forms.
Oil is a quality oil. The interesting thing about hemp seed or hemp hearts is it has a minimal amount of carbohydrate. In fact, it has the lowest concentrate of carbohydrate of any known seed that I know of.
So, Dr. Shealy, let me see if I understand. Is your concern with hemp the psychological effects on the brain as well as the clogging up of the cells with the tars? Is that it? When we come back, let's talk about exactly that. I think this is a very interesting topic. It's certainly a controversial topic. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Tina from Colorado. Please hold through the break. I'm Vin Finelli. John is engineering the broadcast. We'll be right back. So, Dr. Shealy, the question that we had going into the break was the hemp oils versus the marijuana smoke. Is it the concern of the tars in the smoke damaging lung tissue and respiratory tissue, the throat, the mouth, and so forth, as well as the psychological effects? Is that what your concern is, or is
Exactly.
it broader?
Yeah,
Okay.
The tars in marijuana are not that much better than the tars in nicotine or tobacco. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, I think smoking marijuana is a dangerous habit. I do not recommend it. Now, if you're dying of cancer, hey, I see no problem in it. But for anybody else, I do not and will not ever recommend it, period.
Okay.
But the oil is good.
Mm-hmm.
The protein is superb. The fiber is excellent. So from a food point of view, the regular food-grade hemp is an excellent source. And it's all over the place in price. I bought 5 pounds recently for $51 from Manitoba Harvest. It seems to be as good as it gets, but that's the pure hemp, not marijuana.
Okay, and let me relate a story about the tars. When my dad was a teaching principal back in the 1960s, he taught a class in science, and he said, "Are there any smokers in this class?" And I have a feeling it was maybe junior high school. And the students kind of were reluctant to even respond, and one said yes. So he said, "I'll tell you what, smoking's not allowed in school, but we're going to make an exception if you'd like to do this." And so he asked the young man if he would bring out one of his cigarettes. And he said, let's do this. Let's take this paper towel, this white paper towel, and we'll just cover the end of the cigarette, and then you can inhale through that paper towel. And then they passed that paper towel around, and it showed this dark spot where the smoke went through the cigarette tobacco, through the cigarette filter, and then was filtered one more time by this piece of towel, paper towel, over the butt of the cigarette. And so there was a spot there, and it showed, wow, there is some tar and some nicotine that actually passes through the filter. It doesn't trap it all. And then he said, let's do this. Let's do it again. Drag on that cigarette with... and this time, what we'll do is we won't use that piece of paper towel. What we'll do is we'll use the standard cigarette with the filter, inhale, and then blow back, form a very small circle with your lips and blow all the smoke back through that paper towel after it's been in your lungs. And both the area, the surface area of the filter spot on the paper towel was about the same size as that with the parsed lips. And they compared the amount of difference between the brown spots with the filter through the paper and inhaling it and blowing it back. And what they found out was there was very, very little of a brown spot left after the tobacco smoke entered the lungs. And so my dad said, okay, now, so here it is. You've seen it. You've seen it right here live. This amount of stain is in the lung. The difference between these two spots is what is staying in the lungs right now. That's just one puff of a cigarette. And what will happen is over time, imagine the effects. So that's what you're talking about, isn't it, Dr. Shealy?
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of it. And that doesn't, of course, the hallucinogenic aspect doesn't show up in the brown spot either.
Mm-hmm. Right. Tina, your thoughts on this?
Well, that's why I originally asked about the hemp oil, because I know a little bit about this and have, worked with some people who've gotten some benefits in an alternative health way. And hemp versus marijuana, there is the distinction, as Dr. Shealy, said, that there's the psychoactive component in marijuana where there's not in hemp. And though what I guess, the active ingredient are in total called cannabinoids. And that's what
Tina,
sort of works within our body.
Tina, would you like to hold through the next break?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right. We're talking about hemp and the differences between hemp and marijuana. Dr. Shealy and Tina will be right back. I'm Ben Finelli. We're talking about hemp and are there medical benefits to hemp? And Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. And if you'd like to get a copy of the same newsletter that I get, normshealy.com. Just go to Norm, as in Norman, Shealy, SHEALY.com, normshealy.com, and you can click on the newsletter portion and enter your email address, and you will receive a free email, the same newsletter that I get many times a week. And we'll talk about one of the newsletters a little later on in the broadcast. Tina's with us, and we're talking about cannabinoids. Dr. Shealy, what are your thoughts on those?
The medical benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, there's no question that it seems to be a benefit in treating pain and perhaps helping immune function in people with major immune diseases. That's about it.
Okay. So, Dr. Shealy, here's a question and a concern I have. As someone who travels on the highways, if there is someone who has medical pain and they have a prescription for medical marijuana, do I need to be, as someone behind the wheel, do I need to be careful of the others who might be on prescription medical marijuana? Is it the same thing?
About the same as alcohol.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Right. No question. It is dangerous. Their perception, their reflexes are not good. period.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Shealy, while Tina's still with us. When I was in high school, there was education about drug use, drug abuse, and pretty much it was in a capsule form. It was like this. You know, it may start with alcohol, may lead to marijuana, may lead to hallucinogenics like LSD. You may become addicted to heroin and heroin-like products. And here's what happens when you get involved with these drugs. You age very quickly, your body deteriorates, you die sooner, and you lose control. Right. And then they showed the prison side of drugs, and they had these rough-looking guys in prison saying, "Don't do it. Don't do what I did. Learn from me. I'm in here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and it's all because I did something stupid." And, that was the education that we received. Is there a link, in your opinion, as a medical doctor who has seen probably just about every possible scenario of the human body and the benefits and disbenefits of what we consume? Is there a link between marijuana, smoking marijuana, and leading on to harder, more dangerous, more toxic, more addictive substances and drugs?
Yes, unequivocally. Not a huge percentage, perhaps, but a significant percentage of people who get hooked into marijuana. I'm talking about those who smoke it quite frequently. Mm-hmm. They begin to lose whatever the escape that they're looking for, and they do move up into the harder drugs, including heroin.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, is the reason that you don't do drugs, illegal substances, the reason that I don't, is it because we're balanced? Is it because we're grounded? Is it because we are not looking for something that we have not obtained?
Well, I think that's true. Two things. First of all, I happen to like the way my mind and brain function. Mm-hmm. I'm aware of how they function enough that I don't like anything that disturbs them. I've had a number of accidents. I've had a number of surgeries. And the first thing I do when I wake up is say, "Don't give me any of that. I don't want any more narcotics." Mm-hmm. I would prefer to have pain to losing control of my mind. Mm-hmm. And so that's at the base of it. Now, as far as the other aspect, I'm not an addictive person. Now, and let's face it, certain people are much more prone to addiction, including smoking. About 50% of smokers are truly addicted, and they have great difficulty stopping. The other 50% can stop anytime they like and not have any withdrawal at all.
Tina, your thoughts?
In terms of addictive personalities and experiences, I agree, and I also concur on the, not necessarily wanting to change or alter my, the way that I'm perceiving the world or the way my mind and brain works. But, just circling back to where I was going with hemp versus marijuana, hemp, the main difference being that the cannabinoids that are present in both plants, the one that's the psychoactive component, the one that would change your mind or make you feel high or that kind of thing, is THC, that is present in marijuana, and that is not present in hemp. So that's, I guess, where, I was wondering what Dr. Shealy's thoughts were on that, because there's also, I mentioned the oil, and just another way, one reason from my experience that people choose to inhale it is because it gets instantly into the bloodstream and they get an instant effect, if you will. So an alternative to smoking, yet still being able to get that instant effect for, let's say, sometimes people who are, battling epilepsy and they feel a seizure coming on, or people that use it for migraines. They might want that instant effect for that reason, or people who are dealing with chronic pain and they feel that pain coming on. Mm-hmm. But a safer way to do that is through vaporization, which essentially heats the substance and causes the resinous molecule that contains those cannabinoids to go from liquid to vapor, and then without combusting it and without getting the tar, they can inhale it. And then when you shift that to hemp and hemp oil, you're also taking out the objection of the psychoactive component. And so that's what I just wanted to introduce and see if what Dr. Shealy's thoughts were on that.
Okay, Dr.
Well,
Shealy?
I think I've expressed those. The food is good. The smoking sucks.
Okay, Tina, is there anything else that you've got for Dr. Shealy?
No, but it's an interesting topic nationwide because now there's 22 states that have legalized in one form or another with unique laws medical marijuana, and so I wonder what people's experiences are with it. Are you hearing from other people as to the benefits that they're getting or not?
Well, are you asking me?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's my answer. I have received several phone calls in my studio off air about this. Would I be willing to talk about it, and what is my position on it? My position is from maybe it's a brainwashing perspective from all the way back to elementary and high school, that drugs are really bad. The body works best, if you can avoid them, and the potential for addiction. And then I look at it and I say, I wonder in Colorado, business in the medical marijuana or legalized marijuana, if you will, is booming, absolutely booming. And then I wonder, how is that going to have an effect on the creativity of the people as a whole to develop new products, new services, and even get up and go to work? Are we going to become more likely to be couch potatoes and say to ourselves, geez, I got to be at work in about 20 minutes. Takes 10 minutes to get there. I don't feel like it. I'm not going to do it. I don't feel like it. I'll just smoke some more dope, and I'll forget about it. And I'm wondering if that might take over. So I'm reluctant to a great degree to support the marijuana smoking, consumption, use for any purpose other than what Dr. Shealy is saying. Now, if Dr. Shealy is saying to me and you and our worldwide audience that hemp seeds is something that is really good to eat and there are benefits to the human body, and maybe we should consider putting that in our bug out bag, as long as we're not going to be arrested for it if we're in an area that it's legal. I'm interested in that. I am. And if there's a benefit to the consumption of hemp oil, and I wouldn't even know how to consume it. Would you sprinkle it on your salad, as in place of or in addition to olive oil? If that's the case, and there's a medical benefit, and I don't have to suffer and I'm using the word suffer consciously, the psychological effects of it, I might be willing to consume it. But bear in mind, I have a responsibility to my family and to my farm and to my farm animals and to the broadcast classroom. I've got to be conscientious in what I'm doing. I can't be, anything less than devoting 100% of my mental faculties to what I'm doing. Dr. Shealy, what did I say that in concert
Perfect.
to what?
I totally agree.
Okay.
Again, I just cannot recommend it, but I can't recommend smoking or cigarettes. So, it has at least possibly even greater damage to the heart and lungs. Not a huge amount, but certainly more, but not quite as much negative effect on your brain.
Okay, Tina?
Well, I'd just like to leave you with a thought, because I know you guys are both, of this open-minded school.
Okay, go quickly. Go quickly. We only have a few seconds.
A lot of what's been popularized in terms of thought, the stigma that has been attached, is patently false from a first-hand perspective. And people that are using it to improve their health are actually, at the most, getting off of excessive amounts of prescription medicine, which actually comes to make someone with a chronic condition often.
Dr. Shealy's with us, and we've got a caller from Kansas, Sherry. Sherry from Kansas, welcome. You're on the air with Dr. Norman Shealy.
Good morning, gentlemen. Dr. Shealy, I caught your interview with Jeff Wrench last night, and it was very good, and I kind of needed a 101 like that, because what you had to say about oxytocin was very interesting in relation to, the amount of people that don't make it or don't have enough of it or something. And my question now, is it true that your Bliss products, they're essential oils, a mixture of essential oils, and that they can help your body start making oxytocin again?
Well, the only one that activates oxytocin is Air Bliss.
Okay.
It is very specific for that purpose.
Okay. Now, let me give you a hypothetical. I have a friend who's on several drugs, like 14 of them. A lot of them are psychotropics. Seems like I'm doing research on them. I've got a PDR, but some of them are because of the side effects of the other ones, I'm sure. Some of them. And after I do my research, and then she's going to be working with a health professional, if he will do that, to help her wean herself off those. Would there be any contraindications of her taking this Air Bliss at the time she's trying to wean herself off these other drugs?
Oh, not at all. That's how I would start. I usually say use it for at least 3 to 7 days, and then you start weaning under supervision, a drug one at a time. And so it could take her a year to get off all that stuff.
Oh, I'm surprised a woman is as sane as she is. If she didn't have faith in God,
right?
I'm sure she would have committed suicide by now, because I can't believe she's kept it together as long as she has.
Me as if some physician is unbelievably stupid.
Well, and how did they get away with this? I mean, they've never tested even 2 of these drugs together, it's my understanding, on how they affect one another, and yet they can prescribe them.
Well, the pharmacomafia has brainwashed the vast majority of physicians. It's that simple.
I heard this, I don't remember his name, but he was a psychologist, and I believe he works with HHCR, or CCHR, but he's a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, and he doesn't believe in using these drugs, and I guess he just done something on 60 Minutes not too long ago. This was an interview he did with Joyce, I think, and he talked about how he happened to meet this guy in an airport that had seen him on his recent I'm not sure, I think it was 60 Minutes, but a TV interview. And they actually ended up sitting together on the plane, and the guy confessed to him that he was a drug rep. and he relayed to him how much these doctors can make from the incentives they get from the drug companies to prescribe these drugs, and it was phenomenal. On one drug, he said, Pat, his salary.
All you can say is it's unethical, period.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, and now I got a question for both of you, something for both of you to comment on. Vincent, since you're very good you're a computer expert, I heard this doctor who no longer practices in this country.
I'll tell you what, Sherry, we're going into a break. Why don't you hold that question? Can you hold through the top of the hour news? Can you do that? Why don't you do that, and we'll bring you right back right after top of the hour news and commercials. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and I've got a few comments about the cost of drugs and the cost of smoking. So I did some quick calculations, and we can talk about that also when we come back with Dr. Norman Shealy. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Just a quick announcement. We've got Sherry on the line. Just received a call from Rob Roy. You remember him. He's a USAPrepares.com instructor. He's on Sons of Guns, the Discovery Channel. We're scheduling him to be on the air with us shortly. Ed Marvini and I were on the phone, and he's going to be on with us on the 13th. He is the web designer for USAPrepares.com website. We're going to be talking about his observations in preparedness. He is a survivalist, a martial artist, a preparedness-minded person. And Dr. Jerry Pollack, bioengineering professor, is going to be on with us on the 17th, and he's going to be talking about the 4th phase of water. Also, I got a call from Laclede Electric. And as you may know, I'm running for the board of directors of the electric co-op. And they called me because they want me to come in for my picture to be taken for the publication. They are taking my running for the board of directors very, very seriously. No kidding. So here's the point. The point is, yes, you can be involved in taking back America. And as you know, I've announced that I'm going to run for sheriff in 2 years because I want to restore our county to our previous way of life, kind of like Mayberry RFD. That's what I would prefer, and I'd like to broadcast live from cell number 1 because it won't be needed to house prisoners, because we're going to lead by example. We're not just going to arrest people and give them fines and tickets and cause them all kinds of grief. We're going to lead by example, so I don't think I'm going to need cell number 1 in the jail in the county. I'd like to turn that into a broadcast studio. And so, yes, you can lead by example. You can run for sheriff. You can run for office. You can run for boards of directors. You can run for whatever you'd like, and you don't have to. You don't have to have the experience, because the other guys probably didn't have the experience either. So please consider that, and let's take our country back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and Sherry is on the line from Kansas. She's held over from the first hour, and she's got a lot of great questions. Sherry, please continue.
This is a doctor who's no longer in the United States, so this doesn't affect her, but she was giving the ramifications of all these medical records being online, and the amount of information that can be gleaned if they're hacked and stuff. And she was saying that, and they can be hacked very easily for people who know what they're doing, apparently. But she said if somebody steals your credit card number, they may only be able to sell that for about $10. But she said because there's so much more information, if they get a record, your medical records, they can sell that more, like for $50, because they can apply for a credit card in your name and run up all kinds of bills, or and basically ruin your credit rating if you have a good credit rating. But even if you're a poor person, she said they can still, get prescriptions in that name and sell them on the black market. So it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. And I thought both of you,
let's face it, Obamacare sucks. It is the worst, one of the worst laws in the history of any country in the world, and there's not much we can do about it unless we get rid of the bum in the White House.
And most of us believe that it's unconstitutional because what's really happening is the government has teamed up with corporations to sell a product and fine you if you do, or a service, whatever you want to call it, and fine you if you don't participate. So, from my perspective, it's unconstitutional. Shealy, let me address your question from my perspective, from a computer perspective. My parents had Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance for many, many years, and there was a person on the East Coast who took a notebook computer home and left it in her car. The computer notebook was stolen, and it had on it a couple 100,000 medical records, Social Security numbers associated with each one. Name, address, Social Security number. Enough information to hack bank accounts. And what this did, just to my parents, they had to change every single one of their bank accounts, their checking accounts, their savings accounts, their credit card accounts. Every one of them had to be canceled and reissued with a new number or transferred to a new account number. So can it happen? Absolutely. And in this era of electronic online transactions, absolutely it can happen. Now, this was just an act of what I believe would be carelessness. It would be an act of someone having data on her computer that should not leave the building. But even if the data were just on the corporate computers, it can still be hacked. There are thumb drives that are huge, that can hold lots and lots of data. So it's a real serious problem, and I am very concerned about online medical records. I'm really concerned about the government having online medical records, and here's why. Dr. Shealy has talked for a couple years with us on the radio, and even longer than that on his broadcast in a local market. Well, he's talked about complications, drug interaction complications, and just plain old complications with individual drugs. And please correct me if I'm misspeaking, Dr. Shealy, but I believe that one of the ways that this vast database of information about each one of us can be used to say, wow, it's really working. So that drug is really causing that disease that we hoped that it would cause. I'm talking about from a government's perspective, saying, we really want to eliminate people. And that drug is working great because it's causing that organ failure that we kind of hoped it would cause. Dr. Shealy, am I on track?
No, you're right. There's not a drug in the book, including those over the counter, that doesn't have serious complications.
Sherry?
Okay, that's pretty much all I had, but except one more question for Dr. Shealy. It's my understanding that the statin drugs are one thing that you can go off cold turkey.
No, I would not go off them cold turkey. I would wean off them over a period of 2 to 3 weeks. It's safer.
Okay.
Dr. Sherry, before you go, this is very, very important. There are a lot of people who just heard what you said and are wondering exactly what you mean. Dr. Shealy has expressed concern, serious concern, and I'm understating, about statin drugs over the years. Dr. Shealy, would you like to share with everyone your feeling about what statin drugs are, what they can do, and why you recommend that we not be on them?
Well, they poison your muscles, including the heart muscle, the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys, your peripheral nerves, and your brain. But other than that, they're not so bad. I wouldn't take a single statin pill for $1 trillion.
Yeah.
I heard Dr. Sinatra recently, and he's got a recent book out on about co-authored with someone else on the cholesterol myth. And he said that back in 2012, in like early part of 2012, that the FDA actually came out and said that statin drugs can lead to type 2 diabetes.
Oh yes, that's endangering the pancreas. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to get my dad off them for years, and my brother's, basically in charge of his stuff. I've given him the information too. Well, now my dad's got high blood sugar, so I got to, and I know I gave him that article. Now I got to go find it again and give it to him again.
Sherry, let's ask Dr. Shealy about the procedure that he recommends for weaning oneself off statin drugs. So we're not talking with a layperson here. We're talking with a medical doctor, surgeon of the year, someone who's got probably more experience than 95% of medical doctors out there. And I'm being conservative, probably 99%.
That's
Dr.
only
Shealy,
because I'm that much older than everybody else. Well, number one, I would start instantly on 2 heaping tablespoons of lecithin granules a day. I would start him on beta, BETA, sitosterol, sitosterol, 400 milligrams with each meal. And then, in 5 to 7 days, I would cut the statin drug, if possible, in half. Otherwise, cut it every other day for a week or two, and cut it out slowly. That's the best way to do it.
And is that because of some of them, or do all of them have an anti-inflammatory effect?
Well, they do have some, but also there's rebound, so you can go the other way, excessively.
Okay. Well, that helps.
Good luck.
Sherry, thanks so much for calling in. And class, if you would like, you can share this broadcast with friends and family. And in just a minute, I'm going to give you some telephone numbers that you can call and you can listen in. This broadcast will be replayed for 24 hours. Okay? It will be replayed over and over until tomorrow when we start our next broadcast. So if you'd like to share that with friends and family, you can. You can go to usaprepares.com and click Listen Live. It'll take you right to the podcast, and you can share it. And you can also dial a listen line, and when we come back, I'll give you that number. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Sherry, thank you so much for being with us. I'm Vin Finelli. We'll be right back. Class, during the first hour, we were talking about hemp, and my concern was the marijuana stigma associated with it, and the effects on the brain, and of course the tars that are involved in the respiratory damage that it can cause. So I just did a real quick research on the cost of cigarettes. And when you think about marijuana or smoking marijuana, there are costs associated with it. And I was absolutely stunned with and I posted this on the website, with the cost of smoking. I'm talking about cigarettes. There's a post dated July 12th, 2013, about a year ago. Now, the least expensive state to buy cigarettes, and this is state by state, $4.96 a pack for cigarettes. That was the least expensive. The most expensive was New York. $14.50 a pack. $14.50 a pack to kill yourself. Now, if you multiply this out, just simple arithmetic here, the cost of smoking at the lowest cost, if you smoked 1 pack a day, every day, at the price of $4.96 a pack. Now, that doesn't include damage to your clothes, doesn't include, the health insurance increases, admitting you're a smoker, okay, would be $1,800 a year. Now, that's if you smoked in the lowest cost state. That state is Kentucky. Now, if you wanted to smoke in New York and you were buying your cigarettes in New York at $14.50 a pack, you would be spending about $5,300 a year. Now, that's generally after-tax money, meaning it's hard to find a way to have a business where you're evaluating cigarettes and you're buying them at before-tax with before-tax money. So that's an extremely expensive habit. So I just wanted to share that with the class. Dr. Shealy, it's expensive to kill yourself slowly.
Yes. I mean, let's look at an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
It may be more expensive depending on what you drink.
Well, let's talk about alcoholism and smoking for a minute. I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, he's an alcoholic. You can tell because he has this bulbous nose." And so
You mean like
he was
Big Bill?
describing. Excuse me?
You mean like Big Bill?
Yeah, that's the guy.
The one who doesn't inhale?
That's the guy. That's the guy. The guy who was involved in all kinds of scandals. That's the guy. So, is there a correlation between this bulbous nose and excessive alcohol consumption from a medical perspective, Dr. Shealy?
Yes, there is. You know, I don't know what the drop-off line is because everybody's unique and individual, but certainly there is no question that our enlarged and redder nose is one indication of, excess alcohol.
No, let me see if I've got this right. So, Dr. Shealy, as an experienced medical professional of 6 decades, is that right?
Let's see. Since 1956.
Okay. Since 1956. So we're close. So, Dr. Shealy, now if you were practicing today and someone were walking down the hallway, let's say your exam room, you were in your exam room and you could see down the hallway, and one of your patients, a new patient, someone who had not seen you before, was coming down the hallway and you saw this bulbous nose, would you be able to say in your mind, looks like 35 years of excessive drinking? Is that something that you could do?
Probably.
Okay. All right, class. So what we're talking about is cause and effect. And let's take it to the next level. I have noticed 100% of the cases where someone has been smoking for a long time, let's say 30 or 40 years, if they've lived that long, they have absolutely more wrinkles. Forget the coughing, the hacking, the wheezing, and being out of breath. Just their face has more wrinkles than I would imagine someone of that age would have who has not been consuming cigarettes. Let's talk about that when we come back right after this break. So, Dr. Shealy, I've noticed throughout my life that people who have smoked consistently 30 to 40 years have more wrinkles, deeper wrinkles, and appear to be in worse physical condition. But just the physical condition, the deficiency in respiration function aside, just the wrinkles are more pronounced, more deep. Is that something that you have seen also?
Yes, that's well known. That is well known. And, of course, what that really means is the inside of your body is equally wrinkled.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that when a person first starts inhaling cigarettes, their face wrinkles up like, oh, this is coming, it's not going to be good, and I'm not going to like it, and their face wrinkles up. And then that face that they make seems to almost permanently stay that way in terms of the wrinkles. It gets more and more pronounced over years. So that's what I've seen. Okay.
Absolutely.
Dr. Shealy, I need to make this announcement. I don't know, no matter how I say this, it's not going to come out right. So I'm just going to say it the way it is. On Monday, I was invited to be on a local radio station. I was preparing for the meetup. I was setting up the equipment, and the meetup guests were already had arrived, and some were filling in the restaurant at Ziggy's. And so I got this call on my cell phone, and I don't carry my cell phone with me, so I heard it ring, so I picked it up. And it was from an engineer at a local radio station, and he said, "Hey, Vinny, we haven't talked in a while, and would you like to be on the air with us, on Wednesday, 30, 45 minutes?" And I said, "Sure." And I was thinking, now I used to be on this radio station, and I said, "Sure, be glad to." And I was thinking, maybe they were, needed to recharge in their controversy department or something, and they wanted to have me on. So I thought, okay, I'd be glad to. So I said, I'd love to talk to you longer, but I am setting up, and I'll call you back tomorrow. And so I made the announcement that I would be at Ziggy's. I made the announcement that I'd be on the air today at 8 o'clock, and posted it on Facebook to our 5,000 friends, and put it on, I put it out there. And I talked to the engineer yesterday, and he said, "Hey, listen, so how long can you be on?" I said, "Well, I can be on from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8:59, an hour, because then I hop on Genesis." And he said, "Great, so we'll have you on." And so it was all approved with top management. Everybody said, yeah. Really? You're going to have Finelli on? Okay. Does the boss know? Well, so evidently it was all approved. And so I sent out the announcement that I'd be there. They promoted it at the radio station. And 45 minutes before airtime today, I got a call from the engineer saying that it's canceled. You will not be on. I said, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Appreciate the call. Then I got calls from people listening in the local market that called me at home and said, "Hey, Vinny, they announced that you couldn't make it for the interview." And I said, "Well, that's technically correct. I couldn't make it because they canceled it, but that's not the way it was aired." So here's what I'm saying, Dr. Shealy. I don't want this to sound like sour grapes, because it really is not. It is not that important to me. It would have been nice. Was I disappointed? Sure. So there are three things that I'm trying to share with this particular story. One, why I was not on the air, because I was invited to be on, and then I was invited not to be on. So that's why I wasn't on. Number two, things can be said in such a way in the media that are a little bit misleading, or can be misleading. Okay, and here's an example. There used to be a commercial on television, and I'm paraphrasing. This is not exactly right, but 9 out of 10 doctors prefer brand A cigarettes. 9 out of 10 doctors interviewed prefer brand A. Well, yeah, because they interviewed 9 doctors who agree with brand A. So they can say 9 out of 10 doctors interviewed agree. But would it be 9 out of 10 doctors in the whole population of doctors? The answer would be no, they would not agree. And you know that. So what I'm saying is, listen very carefully to the words that are used in the media. That's number two. Number three is disappointment. Now, Dr. Shealy, I'm thinking that some people might be really upset over news that they hear in their lives, and they can be really disappointed, and they can go to work being disappointed, and they can say, "Oh, geez, I'm still angry about that, and it's only been 3 weeks." And that would affect job performance. That would affect their outlook. That would affect how they relate and react and respond to their children and their spouses and their friends and neighbors over a disappointment. How do we fix that, Dr. Shealy? I mean,
well,
some of us
everything affects everything. And, of course, the most important way is for people to take care of themselves and to plan how to handle stress. And there are many, many ways to do that, Vince. One needs to learn detachment from those things you cannot change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if your Annie were a man, she would be your uncle. That's how big the word "if" is.
Right.
So if people just practice autogenic training every day of their life, after 3 months, they would only need about 5 minutes a day to keep the body and mind in perfect harmony, so that, yes, they would still have a temporary awareness that something had happened, but they wouldn't go into overdrive for the next 20 days. Vince? Hello?
I'm sorry, Dr. Shealy. When the engineer called me this morning, just 45 minutes before the broadcast, he said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "It's okay. It's okay. It's fine." And I really meant that. But I was also thinking about, I've gotten some calls during the last week or two from a number of people who have shared with me things that have happened in their lives, disappointment, heartbreak, and how it was really affecting them. And so I've realized that we handle disappointment and setbacks differently as individuals. So I'm glad you were able to share with us the autogenic training component. And Dr. Shealy, I've been asked a lot about that past life regression that you did with me for 1 hour. That's on your television channel.
It is now up and available.
So here's the yeah.
I got the link last night from Robert. It is now available.
Okay, class. Here's what I've done. Dr. Shealy sent me the link. I posted it on usaprepares.com. So if you want to see what Dr. Norman Shealy looks like, if you want to see what Vincent looks like, if you want to see our interaction, and if you want to see how past life regression is done, the process, and you can determine whether you think it's real or not. I'm saying it's real. I was there, and you can watch for 1 hour what happened to me when I was put in a hypnotic state by Dr. Shealy, who's done thousands of these. You can see it live, unedited, right, Dr. Shealy? There's no cutting. There's no cutting. There's no cutting. This is all of it. It's all of it. Well, maybe the first couple of seconds when I was getting into this, the chair. That wasn't there. But everything else is there. And I'm telling you, it's unedited. I was there, saw it firsthand. I was the guy. Experiencing it. And after the regression was over, I did have memory of it. And I asked Dr. Shealy if my reaction was different or more typical as to what he's seen in other past life regressions that he has done. And I believe, Dr. Shealy, you said that it's typical, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So if you'd like to see what it is, how it works, you can go to the channel. It's posted on page 1 of usaprepares.com, usaprepares.com. You'll see it. Dr. Shealy, if they want to go to your website, how do they find it?
I haven't got it on my website yet, but we will have it soon.
Okay. All right. So you can go to mine, and it'll take you just a click away. And when the screen comes up, you'll see a player, and you just click on the play button right in the middle of the screen, and off you go for about 55 minutes. Dr. Shealy, we've got Kyle from Montana on the line with us, and I'd like to welcome him. And then I'd like to talk about your newest book, Living Bliss, Major Discoveries Along the Holistic Path. So, Kyle, you're on with Dr. Norman Shealy and me, Vin Finelli. Welcome.
Good morning, Vince and Dr. Shealy. How are you guys doing this morning?
Perfect, thank you. How about you?
I am doing well. I got a question for you. I actually talked to a doctor one time who was on President Clinton's Council on Smoking, and I just wanted to get your input on this. And anyway, he said they interviewed literally thousands and thousands of people and looked at medical charts and stuff, and he said he actually interviewed some people who were centenarians who had smoked since they were 12 years old. And he said there was many of them in this when they did all this interview. And he said that you could trace the rise in cancer from smoking to the exact point in time to where they started curing tobacco with chemicals. And I was wondering about your input on that.
There's some evidence for that, but my father started smoking at age 10, which would have been 19, and he died of heart disease, which is much more common than cancer. He died at age 53. He smoked 3 packs a day. Great person. His only default that I know of was smoking. He got hooked at a young age. Every pack of cigarettes, on average, knocks off 7 years of life. And so who cares whether it's cancer or heart disease or other problems? It is a toxic poison damaging your entire health.
Kyle, hold on, please, and I've got a response for you also. Dr. Shealy's with us. Dr. Shealy's been Surgeon of the Year. Kyle's with us. Kyle from Montana, USAPrepares.com instructor. Kyle, you're talking about tobacco and chemicals. And let me tell you, I know this firsthand. When I lived in Virginia, I bought another farm besides the one where I resided. Bought another farm about 100 acres down the road. And it was previously a tobacco farm. And it had slave quarters on it from the 1800s, and it was a real deal. And it had the curing barns, and so tobacco was planted on that. Now, to learn about insecticides and pesticides, Mrs. Finelli signed up to go to classes that were sponsored by the county government, and learning how to be licensed to apply insecticides and pesticides. Not that she wanted to, not that we would use them, but we wanted to know about them. These things are so dangerous that the county collects the empty containers that insecticides are sold in and pesticides are sold in. They collect them once a year because they are so dangerous to even dispose of them is a hazard, a serious hazard. Now, let me tell you, when pesticides are applied on tobacco, the law requires that signs be posted as to what was sprayed on the field, when it was sprayed, and when the re-entry period is. So what I'm saying is, if you spray a tobacco field, you must post when you sprayed it, what you sprayed on it, and when it's safe, in quotes, that word safe is in quotes, to re-enter the field. And that's 10 days later. Now imagine an insecticide being so dangerous that you can't re-enter the field for 10 days after it's been sprayed. What about the spraying on the plant? What about the plant uptake of those chemicals through the root system into the leaves? Does it happen? Of course. So if you think about that, and you think about these people who have smoked for, all of their lives, and they live to be 100, I think part of that has to do with when they smoked. That was before insecticide. Now, I'm not advocating smoking. I'm not saying, you can live to be 100 if you smoke. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's dangerous, and I think it's a bad idea. But I think it got worse with the insecticides. Dr. Shealy, your thoughts?
And, there's nothing, nobody can get away from that. And there's no question that the risk has increased since they started. But the risk has always been there. Tobacco is a poison plant. Nicotine is a poison substance.
Yes, and tobacco is used in the creation of chemical compounds that are used as insecticides. So,
hey,
Kyle...
I agree with you. It is a dangerous thing, but before the show ends here, I wanted to tell you I actually did have one of those past life regression things. I wanted to end the show kind of with that when I was about 10 years old, I really did something that deserved a terrible whooping, and when my dad got through with me, I thought for a second there I was an Arab in the Inquisition.
Well, I hope that gave you a life lesson worth having.
It did. It changed my life forever, I guarantee you. But
Kyle,
anyway, thanks for letting me on. I understand. I see what you're saying, and you have some extremely good points.
And remember, Bill Clinton didn't inhale.
That's really
Kyle,
good.
I wanted to get on with Dr. Shealy's book, but we're not going to have time. Living Bliss, class. Kyle, stay with us just for a second. Living Bliss, Major Discoveries Along the Holistic Path. Dr. Shealy, is the book out right now?
The book will officially be out tomorrow. I'm sure it's at Barnes & Noble and other bookstores right now, and you can get it off Amazon at a 37% discount. The most important book of my life. Had a wonderful interview with Jeff Rentz last night. Went to midnight, and it was worth it.
Great. And Kyle, let me share this with you and Dr. Shealy. There was a farmer who found a bag of white powder, about a 50-pound bag on the side of the road. And ultimately, the EPA had to come in and clean it up and put it in a stainless steel drum. And they wore respirators and operating suits in order to clean it up. It was tobacco insecticide spilled on the side of the road. Dr. Shealy, thanks so much for being with us. Kyle, thanks so much. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.